Okay.
So we're here at the taxi development. It's a multi-use space. Again, 5 minutes from downtown Denver. The skyline is right there. So there's the Quest building. That's how we find everything in Denver, the Quest building. You can see that Quest building light from Boulder, Colorado.
Wow.
It's a beacon. It's in a snow blizzard. If you can find the Quest building, you can find your way. I'm just saying. Anyway, so here we are at Taxi. This used to be the taxi depot for Yellow Cab here in Denver, and that's why this structure is called Taxi. Next to the coal train, right here.
Wow.
And that's a really long one because we came quite a ways down and it's still there. This is the community garden called Dig It.
Sorry.
This is the Dig It garden at Taxi. It was a project of the youth eco-cultivators at Blue and Yellow Logic last summer. And when we left it to the restaurant who's here. We actually grew the food for the restaurant that's a development in the front of the taxi structure. So it was the first time, it was some of the first recovery dollars that were given to the city of Denver to do summer youth employment. And each city last year had to have a green job. Well, nobody knew what that was last year. And so one of the kind of veteran youth contract employment organizations contracted Blue and Yellow Logic to create a green job for some teenagers. So one of the projects they did was they built this garden. And so it's now time to turn it over and plant more food. And that food actually gets prepared and sold every day in the cafe in the front here. But what was more interesting to us, obviously, was this interconnectedness of talking about sustainability with young people. Particularly, we specifically asked for teenage parents on purpose and said, no, if we can teach them to eat differently and to be able to differentiate real food from processed food, then we will not have to deal with some of the unseen cost of the health disparities that are happening in our community. So if you learn how to grow lettuce, then you know what lettuce looks like, and maybe you'll have a salad instead of going to get the hamburger. And if you do that, then you'll give your kid that. And then your kid won't have to deal with the obesity and the diabetes and the heart disease that we're having to deal with in our generation, based a lot on what we eat. So again, a lot of this redefining of what soul food is, new ideas around what is a job, helping people figure out what is a green job even. Oh, there goes another train. But that's the train with people in it. Yeah, it is. That's the Amtrak. The Amtrak going next to the coal train. But for instance, this is our strawberry patch, which clearly needs to be turned over. And tomato bin, the kale bin, the eggplant bin, the pepper bin, and the squash bin. So someone has started growing something, which is great. It looks like beefsteak. Oh, there are tomatoes. Cherry tomatoes, beefsteak tomatoes, and early girl. So that's great. That means that they've already started that. This interesting project was actually an experiment of growing wildflowers on manure and straw. That's all it was, to see if we could do it, and we did. And we built those compost bins out here as well. So anyway, all of this is we're trying to reclaim our heritage and our legacy of being people who get dirty, tend to the dirt. It's let's redefine what is valuable. When we say, I don't want to be, the person who works the land. Well, your grandfather probably worked the land. And as we say, my grandmother was an OG. She was an organic gardener. And so when you have people who are standing up and saying that they're the expert on things while you're reducing and reusing and recycling, we're saying, remember, go put that back together. That this is also our heritage. This is also our legacy. That if we don't learn how to grow food, then we really are not going to be able to survive because of what coal plants and other, toxic plants have done to our community and to our soil, that we don't even know the difference between, genetically modified food now and organic food. And that we think that organic food means, food that rich white folks can buy at Whole Foods. That's what we think that means. And the truth is that if we just spend a little more energy, I think, attaching ourselves and our identity to this problem that's in our community, these coal trains going through our hood, then I think we'll figure out some kind of way of saying, hey, you know, I am part of this movement. I am capable, and I'm an expert. I'm an expert. I can go to the Green Festival. I can go to Pioneers. I can go to Lohas. I can go to Bali. I can go to all of those places and talk about this is what environmental injustice looks like. I live in it every day. Here we are, and I have to come out here next to the coal plant or next to the coal train and figure out how to grow food because I have to. Because what? I can't afford to go to Whole Foods and buy the organic food. And then we don't, you know, we talk about, while we're talking about environmental justice, we're talking about how much did you pay the person who planted that seed, who tended that field, who picked that food? Can that same person afford to go buy the food that they planted? That's part of the environmental justice conversation, you know, for some of us. And we're not so much talking about the coal, and I think we need to figure out how to have that piece become included in the universe of bitching and yelling and screaming and protesting and resisting while you reduce and reuse. Resist. You know, fight, say something, do something. Trying to figure it out. But in the midst of that, it's really beautiful to be out here in the middle of the night. It really is, you know, and the coyotes are out, and it's serene and it's quiet. And you would never know, you know, that you're standing in some pretty toxic land. There's a reason why the food was in a raised bed and not planted in the ground. There's a reason. And in fact, this plot of land right here, we did remediation on last year. So we did the coffee grounds and the spinach and the mushrooms on this plot of land so that we could grow food this year on this side too. So we'll see. We'll do a soil test and see if being next to this garage, the RTD, the bus station's garage, had really toxified this soil. This soil was really grummy. So that's why we thought we'd, you know, plant the mushrooms out here and see. So that's good. Yeah.